from Lagos, Nigeria. This is News Central. I'm Adeshawa Josh. Our top stories tonight. President Bola Tinubu grants 14-day grace period to PDP and other owners of properties sealed off by Federal Capital Territory Administration. 6 students sitting for senior secondary school certificate examination abducted in Port Harcourt regained freedom. Hamas reportedly agrees to U.S. brokered ceasefire proposal aimed at ending ongoing war in Gaza.
In business, Nigeria launches transformative air cargo corridor to East and Southern Africa, slashing export costs by 75%.
In sports, Liverpool's title celebrations marred by a suspected terror attack after a driver rammed through a crowd of fans. Details in a moment.
Welcome, everyone. Tonight begins right now. Begin tonight in the Federal Capital Territory, where the FCTA has sealed off and taking possession of People's Democratic Party's headquarters located at the Zone 5 area of Abuja. The event follows the sealing of several other properties belonging to the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Total Energies, Access Bank, and the Chinese Cultural Center. Officials of the FCTA, they say they're exercising the right to do that by the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike. News Central correspondent Amadine Uyi reports.
The exercise commenced as promised by officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration. The team first visited the Total filling station at the Wuse Zone 5 area of Abuja, where they sealed the filling station, ending activities for the day.
The exercise is about the possession of revoked titles for non-payment of ground rent. And you recall that adequate announcement has been made as regards to the issue of ground rent payments. And grace period was also given, but some people have failed to comply. So as a result of that, the revocation notice has been issued. Now we are going around to take over those properties.
From there, they proceeded to the Access Bank branch at Wuse Zone 6, and then the Federal Inland Revenue Service at Wuse Zone 5. Visibly upset staff of the Inland Revenue Service refused the team entry as they engaged in a back and forth which almost resulted to a fight.
Excuse me.
The team then visited the People's Democratic headquarters at Wuse Zone 5, where they sealed the property of Nigeria's largest opposition party. The Director of Lands denied allegations that the exercise infected on the PDP headquarters is a political witch hunt.
We don't deal with occupants. We deal with the owners, the property owners. We don't deal with occupants or tenants. Senator Samaila Maman Kofi was duly served the revocation notice. And out of abundance of caution, we also came here and pasted the revocation notice served on Samaila Kofi at his Kaduna address. The address on record. Samaila Kofi is the owner of the property, and the address we have in our records for him is that of Kaduna, and we duly served him. This is a copy of the revocation notice and the evidence of service. This is him, served since the 14th of March 2025.
The team did not end at the PDP headquarters, as the Chinese Cultural Center, the Grand Ibro Hotel Annex, and the warehouse close by were not spared. They said the exercise will continue until all 4,794 revoked plots are taken possession of. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has approved a 14-day extension for land title owners who have defaulted in the payment of the ground rent for their properties and have seen their titles revoked by the FCT administration. President Tinubu also approved the payment of penalties according to the location of the properties within the FCT. The Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, urged owners of properties in the capital who purchased their lands from second-party owners to regularize their documents and pay up their certificates of occupancy within the next 41 days. Let's bring in Femi Losing. He's a public affairs analyst. He joins me tonight from, I believe you're joining us from Lagos. Thank you so much for joining us. We can't say this move is politically motivated, can we? The FCTA also sealed off buildings hosting FIRS and NAPTIP offices.
Thank you. I think for me, first and foremost, I think it is irresponsible of any institution, be it a political party, government agency, or privately owned enterprises, to fail in fulfilling their statutory obligation of paying the required taxes into not just the FCT states. Across so many states, we've seen people erecting structures, people build houses without required approval, people don't pay ground rent. In Lagos, a lot of people don't even pay land use charges and the likes. It is a common scenario. But we must also understand that while it is condemnable that people are failing in fulfilling their statutory obligation to the state, to the nation, in terms of taxes and necessary revenue, what happened in Abuja today is beginning to look like an attempt to actually undermine democracy. Not because PDP is involved, but because of private interests that have seen properties, purportedly taken over by the FCDA. I am not a lawyer, but I know there's a law governing the country. The FCT minister is supposed to be a lawyer. The truth is that in the elementary sense of it, I don't think there's any law that empowers the FCT, just like we have seen in those banners you displayed on your screen, giving the FCT the authority to take over possession of people's property without a court of competent jurisdiction giving such order.
Hold on, Femi.
Even when it involves properties, yeah.
What exactly?
Even when it involves properties, I'm with you.
Let me come in here. You said there is no law that empowers the FCTA to take over people's property when they haven't paid their dues in 20, 10, 40 years. They were served 21 days notice to pay up their dues.
Just like I said, it is irresponsible of any organization, individual or party to shortchange the state, the nation, by not paying the required due. But what does it cost the FCT administration to approach the court, just like EFCC does, and every other agencies of government, and secure an order? You cannot, take over people's property by merely pasting posters and, bringing mobile policemen and some non-state actors to take over properties. I am waiting. I don't know if there exists any order of the court that have granted the FCT administration the power to take over those. And that's why I want to commend President Bola Tinubu for immediately coming in to give that 14 days the window for people to pay up.
But what is the difference between 21 days given by the FCTA and now the 2 weeks that the president would give? It is the same thing. The president also, technically, if I were to go by your argument, does not have the jurisdiction over this kind of matter.
The president directive is not even a law. If you are going to confiscate people's property, just like EFCC does, ICPC does, and other agencies, you must go to the court. Only the court have the power to confiscate, people's property and hand over to the state. Mr. Wike does not have the power. The FCDA does not have the power to just paste posters and say this property now belongs to the FCT. Under what authority? Under what law? We must be very careful while we are trying to do the right thing by not engaging in wrong things. That is what the FCT administration is doing today.
Femi, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm actually scrambling for facts here. I wish I have a lawyer on the show to help me, take a look at what your claims tonight. I do not. and I think I may have lost you there. So, but if you're still on the line, Femi, all right.
Yeah,
so you're back. I'm scrambling for information here to just try and see. I just know that, when you get a C of O, there is a certain amount of years that you are given to own the land and pay certain ground and rents and what have you. There are dues, and there is obviously, if there are dues and you default, if you break the law, you must face the music, right? So back to your point, I don't understand the point you're trying to make here. These people are owing the government. The government gave them 21 days to pay up. They didn't pay up, and they're getting their properties revoked or sealed off.
No, it doesn't work that way. I am a property owner by the grace of God in Lagos and Abuja. Like I said at the opening, it is very irresponsible for any individual organization to shortchange the government by not paying your required. It's not about CFO. It's about even regular tenement rate, ground rent. In Lagos, we call it land use charge, that you must pay on your property annually. These individuals, organizations, they are irresponsible by not paying those rents. That nonetheless does not give the power to a minister or his subordinates to wake up after taking coffee and bread in the morning and claim that this property now belongs to the... If we're going to take...
Oh, wow. Femi, okay. You're back online now.
Only the court. It's only the court that is empowered to confiscate property. Not any minister, not any ministry, not any
Femi,
individual groups.
Femi.
Yeah.
As far as I know,
I'm with you.
The spokesperson for the FCTA mentioned that there was no court injunction or orders that is preventing them from taking over the properties. Does that count?
There a court order? Was there a court order mandating them to take over the properties?
Court order, I beg your pardon.
The spokesperson of the FCTA minister is. If there was no court order preventing them from taking over this property, was there a court order empowering them to take over these properties beyond the instruction of Mr. Wike and maybe some of his subordinates?
All right. We're going to have to leave the conversation there. Thankfully, the president has intervened. He's giving them 2 weeks to pay up. So we see what comes up, what becomes of this story.
Very commendable of President Bola Tinubu.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Femi Lossing, public affairs analyst, for joining us tonight. President Bola Tinubu will depart Abuja on Tuesday for Lagos, where he's expected to join other African leaders for the 50th anniversary of the ECOWAS Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The regional bloc's Golden Jubilee celebration was flagged off in Accra, Ghana last month and promises to be a momentous occasion, marking 5 decades of regional integration and cooperation. During his visit, President Tinubu will commission several key infrastructure projects, including a section of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and the Lekki Deep Sea Port Tax Credit Concrete Road. The president will also participate in various events, including a ceremony at the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs at the Eco Hotel and Suites. Coming up tonight, explosion near Mogadishu barracks in Abuja leaves 1 person dead and another injured. We have details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Tonight on News Central. I'm Adeshewa Josh. A reminder of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu grants 14-day grace period to PDP and other owners of properties sealed off by the Federal Capital Territory Administration. 6 students sitting for senior secondary school certificate examination abducted in Port Harcourt regain freedom. Hamas reportedly agrees to U.S.-brokered ceasefire proposal aimed at ending ongoing war in Gaza. An explosion near Mogadishu barracks in Abuja has left 1 person dead and another injured. The blast, suspected to be caused by an improvised explosive device, has sparked panic around the area. Eyewitnesses say the explosion occurred early on Monday and may have involved a suicide bomber carrying an IED in a rubber container. However, military sources on ground say the cause might have been a faulty phone battery, not a bomb. Security operatives from the Army, DSS, police and NEMA quickly arrived at the scene to secure the area and assess the situation. The Nigeria Police Force says investigation is ongoing to determine the exact cause of the blast. In the meantime, let's bring in News Central correspondent Sagir Ibrahim. He's been at the scene to get first-hand account of the situation. He joins me now from Abuja. Thank you so much, Sagir. Initial reports on social media pointed to a suspected suicide bomb attack, but that has been debunked. What more can you tell us?
Well, unfortunate events today. Good evening, Adesha. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. So the initial suspicion was it may have been an improvised explosive devised by a suspected suicide bomber. But on getting to the scene where the event happened, we spoke to quite a number of individuals who were actually present when the event occurred. In fact, some of them identified the individual being someone who was actually within that area and comes there from time to time to sell snacks and also soft drink. On the particular day today, this afternoon, they said he had left one of the estates from around those areas that is still being constructed. And he left the gate after selling his wares to quite a couple of individuals and then went around the roundabout that is being shown on the screen, somewhere towards the left, and he sat down on a pavement that was close to the road, and he was there for a couple of minutes, they said, until they heard an explosion. And now when the explosion happened, of course, a couple of them panicked, but on getting to the scene, we didn't see any impact or effect of the explosion. Of course, I believe that this was what prompted the security agencies to say it may not have been an improvised explosive, device. Otherwise, perhaps there could have been obvious, residue from the explosion or some reasonable damage done to the area. But the particular place where he sat, there was a perimeter fence just behind him, and no damage was done to that fence. The vicinity around him where he was, even though it was raining as at the time we got there, there were no signs of any form of explosion or debris from the explosion. So which, of course, to some extent, one would want to agree with the security agencies that it may, of course, not, have been an improvised explosive device. But the question, of course, what caused the explosion? What else could have caused the explosion? Because from the videos that we saw, it couldn't have been, the mobile phone that caused the magnitude of explosion that could have, given him the injury that he sustained. Talking about the person who lost his life, unfortunately. So the big question at this point is, what exactly caused the explosion, which, of course, we've not been able to find answers to. Also,
Sagir, another big question is, can we confirm the casualties, the fatalities? There are conflicting reports online saying one person is dead. Other very credible media sources are saying they're not claiming any fatalities. What do we know?
As a matter of fact, it's still quite sketchy. The statement that was released by the FCT command of the Nigeria Police Force did not mention any casualty, at the scene. Of course, they said somebody was injured, but the person who unfortunately lost his life, who we all saw on video on social media, was not mentioned. To the best of our knowledge, an investigation is still ongoing. Hopefully, subsequently, they would give more details as to exactly, the number of persons that were injured. However, eyewitness accounts points out that the individual, who unfortunately had the device detonated, lost his life, and one other individual that was standing close to him sustained injuries. That's the much that we know at this time.
Right. Sagir, and hopefully in the coming days, we'll get to hear more about the deceased and more about the information on this story. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Staying in Abuja, panic gripped residents of Grow Homes Estate in Chikakore, Kubwa, following a fresh attack by gunmen in the early hours of Monday. Located in Buari Area Council of the FCT, Chikakore has come under multiple attacks in recent times. According to eyewitnesses, the armed men reportedly overpowered local security personnel and operated freely for about an hour. Residents say the sound of sporadic gunfire woke many of them from sleep, leaving families traumatized and unsure of their safety. Some residents are now calling on security agencies to intensify patrols and deploy more personnel to forestall a repeat of attacks. Let's take you now to Port Harcourt, the River State capital, where 6 senior secondary school students who were abducted along Billy waterways have been freed. The teenagers were abducted earlier this month by suspected pirates while traveling in a boat from Port Harcourt to Billy to sit for their WAEC exams. Meanwhile, Monday's hostage release follows nearly a month of uncertainty as parents and relatives of the abducted students feared the worst. News Central correspondent Bola Felix has been following the story for us from Port Harcourt and brings us the latest.
The West African Examination Council, WAEC, has been on for days now, while some homes across Nigeria are gearing up to celebrate their words for successfully completing high school level. Some families in Rivers State are soaring over their missing children who had left home for the exams but are yet to return days after.
The little boy is in that bush now. I don't know how that boy is eating in that place. I don't know how that boy is sleeping in that place. And they are writing exam. How that boy there, tomorrow future. That is what they said. Now, that boy now, no way. Government, I beg on her. If you have only one child, you know how pain it is. You know how pain it is for somebody to just collect your child, you don't see your child.
This development has put skepticism in the mind of some parents in Rivers State coastal communities over allowing their children to go across the sea in the quest for education.
On the 6th, our children that are going for exam have been kidnapped. It's painful. We cannot even eat. I can't even sleep. Little children, especially our teenage girls, are there. So imagine the trauma they will be passing through right now. I want the government to help us. I want the Senate President, all the security agency to come to our rescue.
We are under pressure presently now because there is no way for us to go to Bilé again. Because that is the only route that we have. We have only one route from Bilé to Port Harcourt to Bilé. And because of these very incidents occurring in several occasions, that because of that we cannot be able to get access to get food to our community.
We've had terrible, terrible situations where our husbands have died, our children have died, all in the name of piracy attacks. They should deploy security measures to the waterways. They should release houseboats to certain areas, to central points of the river.
The need to beef up security on the waterways has always been present, but this latest development underscores the urgency of it, now more than ever.
For Mosiand, it goes to vindicate our position over time that establish JAMB and WAEC centers across the riverine communities in the Niger Delta. The Ministry of Education will be doing the Niger Delta people and the riverine people great good if they can consider this as very important for the sake of accessibility to education.
The kidnapping incidences on the Bilé-Port Harcourt waterways is gradually becoming a daily occurrence. Natives lament that they are yet to see actions from the government to curb the menace. In Rivers State for News Central, Bola Felix.
The report you've just listened to was all that transpired before their release today. Let's now cross over live to Port Harcourt, where my colleague Bola Felix is standing by with the latest update. Thank you so much for joining us, Bola. What more can you tell us about the release of the student?
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, today we got a call that the students or the WAEC candidates had been released. Now, we do not have much information about their release, but what we do know is that the king of LM Calabari, which is Chief Asari Dokubo, his local security outfit had swung into action to secure their release. Their family, I spoke to their family earlier today, and they told me that the students or their wards were yet to be united with them, that they were still in custody of those that secured their release. Now, let's reiterate the fact that Bilé is not a small kingdom, because when we say Bilé, an island community, people think it's some mushroom community. No, Bilé is a kingdom that has over 30 sub-communities under it, and it has several polling units, which means during the election period, you have designated points where people go to cast their votes. So Bile is a large community. But the striking thing about this community is that they have just one way in and one way out, which is by water transportation. So it becomes very difficult for them when they have this piracy attack on and on without any seeming or tangible reaction or intervention from authorities. Right. Now, recently, they also complained to me that feeding has become a problem in that kingdom because their means of transporting food is by sea. But now you have pirates hijacking things, hijacking food, hijacking passengers. So it's becoming a problem to them, really. Thanks for that background, Biola. Just a couple of days ago, we were reading online that these pirates demanded 100 million naira. Do we know anything about the terms and conditions of their release? How did that happen? Currently, we do not have much information about the circumstances surrounding their release, but we do know that King Asari Dokubo has a security outfit that secures the waterways. So it is through the help of this local security formation that these people were able to gain their freedom. This is what I was told some 2 hours ago by the community people. Right, thank you. And do we know if all of the students were released? Because just a couple of weeks ago, we saw somewhere that it was 8 students that were kidnapped. And today was 6 students that have been released. There seemed to be a discrepancy there. Do we know anything more about that? So this evening, I also asked same questions to really confirm from the community leaders. I was with them earlier today, and they said, yes, that there were 6 students abducted, and all 6 have been released, alongside other passengers that were kidnapped by these alleged pirates. Thank you so much. Biola Festus, my colleague there, reporting for us on this story. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let's take you to the National Assembly, where the Speaker of the House of Representatives has withdrawn a controversial bill that's set to make voting compulsory for eligible Nigerians. The bill, co-sponsored by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas and Daniel Ago, who represents Basa Just North Federal Constituency in Plateau State, passed second reading in the House on May the 15th. Leading the debate, Ago argued that the proposed amendment for the Electoral Act 2022 aimed to address the persistent issue of low voter turnout in Nigeria. He said enforcing compulsory voting would boost civic engagement and make electoral participation a legal duty rather than a voluntary act. Still ahead tonight, Russia lashes out, says President Trump is suffering from emotional overload. We'll tell you more after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Reports say women's representation in Nigeria's security architecture remains significantly low, despite existing policies meant to address gender disparity. Stakeholders are now advocating legislative action to institutionalize a minimum quota for women across key security institutions. News Central Sidon Joseph reports.
The underrepresentation of women in Nigeria's security sector continues to persist, driven by gender bias, dominant male-centric work cultures, and limited promotion pathways. Current data shows that women make up 6 to 8% of security personnel across the country. As of 2017, women comprised less than 6% of the armed forces, with even fewer deployed in combat roles. While the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps saw a boost in female enlistment, reportedly reaching 35% during its 2024 recruitment, the Nigeria Police Force lags behind with just 8% female representation, mainly in junior roles and clerical positions, according to Africa Check data from March 2025.
Different security agencies have also responded to the call for a more gender-responsive sector by creating gender units and women corps. The establishment of these units has further deepened the gender gap and exposed the gender stereotypes and discriminations inherent in the Nigerian security sector.
The UN Security 1325 on Women, Peace and Security affirms the vital role that women play in conflict prevention, peace building and security governance.
At a stakeholders' engagement held in Abuja, calls intensify for gender reforms in national security. Central to the discussions are proposed amendments to existing laws governing the Army, Police, and Civil Defense Corps, seeking at least 15% quota for women in recruitment, training, and leadership.
This can be achieved by amending the principal acts of Section 1 of the Nigerian Armed Forces, Section 9 of the Nigerian Police Force, and Section 4 of the Civil Defense Corps, respectively.
Internationally, we're lagging behind when it comes to gender. The passage of this bill will fulfill our international and national commitments.
Lawmakers pushing for the amendments are hoping that the proposals, expected to reach the second reading in Parliament, will gain traction and secure presidential assent later this year. Heads of security agencies at the meeting also expressed willingness to adopt policies that promote gender inclusivity and better reflect the society they serve. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Governor Hope Uzodimma has approved the immediate sack of the Imo State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Cyprian Akaolisa. The erstwhile commissioner has been directed to hand over all government property under his care to the State Solicitor General and Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Justice, immediately. This is contained in a statement issued on Monday by the State Commissioner for Information, Public Orientation and Strategy, Declan Emelumba. Emelumba says the exercise is as a result of a minor cabinet reshuffle to fix the administration of His Excellency. Minister of Works David Umahi on Monday supervised the demolition of illegal structures under the popular Ido Bridge in Lagos for repair works. This follows an evacuation order a few weeks ago. News Central correspondent Israel Ifirobo has the report.
The demolition follows the expiration of a 7-day quick notice to squatters at the Ido Bridge in Lagos. Speaking during the exercise, the minister emphasized that years of fire incidents, makeshift shelters, and unregulated commercial activity had compromised the bridge's structural safety.
We came with a number of bridge experts because this bridge was worn down by people that have been occupying under the bridge. They even made block walls and all kinds of goods are being sold under the bridge. They have converted under the bridge, like warehouses, shops and living accommodation. And that's why the bridge has been totally burned down.
But despite reports of legal suits by some of the affected persons, the minister said no litigation will override the urgency to protect lives and critical infrastructure.
There is no going back in thorough examination of this Ido Bridge. You can see at the underpass that vehicles also hit the bridge and the beams are damaged. And beams are the life wire of every bridge. So this is the directive, and every legal structure must go out of this place before the end of Monday.
However, For many traders affected by the demolition, the loss is both personal and economic.
The government are giving a very long notice for the people under the bridge to vacate. So yesterday they came up to, demolish the place so that the people can be serious. The notice have given to us, many of us have taken our things out. We have found another place to stay. Some people are looking because the notice comes sudden. So some people have never found a place to take their things to. That is why you can see some goods still packed. But as at now, they are bringing motor to convey their goods to another location.
To survive now, they raise our own side. So we will chop before they go finish them. It will take like this year ending. It's not a small job.
Officials say work will begin immediately to assess and reinforce the structural integrity of the Ido Bridge as part of national infrastructure rehabilitation efforts. In Lagos, for News Central, Israel Ifirobo.
Outside our shores, Hamas has reportedly agreed to a U.S.-brokered ceasefire proposal at halting the ongoing war in Gaza. Sources say the deal includes a 60-day truce and a phased prisoner exchange. Under the draft, Hamas would release 10 Israeli captives, 5 at the start and 5 more by the end of the 2-month ceasefire. In exchange, Israel would free a number of Palestinian prisoners and return the remains of several deceased individuals. The news comes amid intensified violence on the ground as Israeli airstrikes hit a school-turned-shelter in Gaza City, killing at least 36 Palestinian children. Palestinians, including children, I beg your pardon. The Kremlin says U.S. President Donald Trump is suffering from, quote, emotional overload. This was after he called Russian President Vladimir Putin absolutely crazy. These two love to trade barbs. Trump made the remarks on Sunday on Truth Social following Russia's largest aerial assault on Ukraine to date, involving 367 drones and missiles that killed at least 13 people. Trump wrote, quote, something has happened to Putin. He has gone absolutely berserk, unquote. Needlessly killing a lot of people, end of quote. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov swiftly dismissed the U.S. president's comments, saying they reflect the emotional strain of those involved in the conflict. It's time for business news. After this break, stay with us.
The federal government has unveiled a new air cargo corridor connecting Nigeria to Kenya, Uganda, and South Africa, aimed at reducing export logistics costs by about 75%. Officially launched by the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, this initiative is part of the African Continental Free Trade Area Guided Trade Initiative in collaboration with Uganda Airlines and the UN Development Program. Oduwole emphasized that this corridor is a vital strategy for micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, enabling them to access new markets more competitively. Now, the African Development Bank has experienced a remarkable 241.9% capital growth over the past decade, soaring from $93 billion in 2015 to $318 billion in 2025, as the president, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, prepares to transition leadership this week. He highlighted the institution's achievements, including the $8.9 billion replenishment of the African Development Fund, benefiting 500 million Africans. The FDB's 2025 annual meetings in Abuja, Côte d'Ivoire, will see 5 candidates vie for the presidency amidst a gathering of 6,000 delegates. And I'll take you through the stock markets. Now, the NGX All-Share Index rose by 0.79% to close at 109,884.92 points, lifting a market capitalization by 69.29 trillion naira. And when we look at sectoral performance now, we see that the banking industry actually saw a bit of growth in terms, actually dropped by 0.02%. Of course, it dipped right there. Insurance also dipped to 1.06% due to profit taken. Oil and gas actually did appreciate 2.3%. 0.36%, driven by renewed interest in energy stocks, while we saw 2.20% for consumer goods in growth. And of course, industrial goods, well, actually went bland right there, but then some sort of a growth. Now, this trend suggests that investors are rotating into sectors with stronger earnings, potentially while actually reducing their positions in the financial space. And that's it on Business News. I am Lekon Onobanjo. Do stay with us for more.
And now it's time for sports news with Udoka. A car rammed into Liverpool FC fans. That is insane.
Yeah, of course. Well, police has actually arrested the man. But of course, it was during Liverpool's title celebrations. But I'll give you more details shortly. Sports police in Liverpool, England, say they have detained a man in connection with a car that was driven through a crowd of people attending the city-wide parade to celebrate Liverpool's Premier League title win on Monday. A huge crowd swarmed the city streets to celebrate the club's 20th league title in an open-top bus parade. Now, the procession wove its way through the city and amid a sea of red smoke and flags for more than 3 hours. Merseyside Derby police said on social media that they were contacted after receiving reports of a car plowing into a crowd on Water Street. 7 people are reportedly dead. Away from that to the National Sports Festival, Bayelsa State made a strong statement in the swimming event on day 7 in Abeokuta, claiming 4 gold, 1 silver and 1 bronze medals. Dorcas Oka won gold in the women's 200-meter backstroke and also claimed gold in the women's 50-meter freestyle event. Team Bayelsa also swept up the gold medals in the 4x100-meter mixed double freestyle and the 4x100 freestyle relay for men. In athletics, Hope Uzodimma won gold in the women's high jump to further add to the state's medal haul. However, Delta still leads the medal standings with 70 gold, 39 silver, and 62 bronze medals. Bayelsa stays second with 46 gold medals, 34 silver, and 32 bronze, while Rivers State is third with 30 gold, 30 silver, and 38 bronze. Now in football, Nigeria's Flying Eagles will discover their group opponents for the 2025 FIFA Under-20 World Cup during the official draw set for Thursday in Santiago, Chile. The draw will determine placements for the 24 qualified teams, divided into 6 groups of 4 ahead of the tournament scheduled from the 27th of September to the 19th of October. Nigeria booked their tickets by finishing 3rd at the 2025 Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations. Led by head coach Aliyu Zubairu, the Flying Eagles have been placed in Pot 1, joining top sides such as France, Argentina, Mexico, Ukraine, and New Zealand. The draw marks a major step in Nigeria's quest to win their first Under-20 World Cup, having previously reached the final twice. Now in Spain, Real Madrid officially introduced Xabi Alonso as the club's new head coach, stepping in to continue the legacy of the iconic Carlo Ancelotti. The former Bayer Leverkusen manager returned to the club where he once shone as a player, signing a 3-year contract. The 3-year-old Spanish coach expressed his gratitude to his family and the trust placed in him by Real Madrid president Florentino Perez. Alonso paid tribute to Ancelotti, acknowledging the immense impact the Italian coach had on both the club and his own career.
Sin duda, es un día muy emocionante, ¿no? Es un día de los que se recuerdan porque creo que solo va a haber una vez en la vida, ¿no?, en la que pueda entrenar al Real Madrid y hoy es el primer día, ¿no? Por lo tanto siento un gran orgullo, una gran responsabilidad, pero también mucha ilusión y mucha energía. Me he encontrado muy bien de volver a la que fue mi casa.
Looking forward to what Xabi Alonso will get to do with the Real Madrid squad. And that's a wrap on Sport Updates. I am Udoka Njoko.
It's time for entertainment news, and Sam Dandy joins me now with the latest In entertainment.
That's right.
Tell me, what's up?
Where do I even start? Nigerian streamer Pele has, of course, said he's going to be suing a pastor. I'll tell you why. But for women, Ira Star is back in the news, and she just broke a new record. I'll tell you all about it after this quick break.
All right.
Popular Nigerian TikToker Pela has threatened to sue a lead pastor of Remnant Church, Kisena Iseri, for referring to him as a bad influence. While speaking about the number of JAM mass failures, the pastor accused Pela and Javis of distracting teenagers and promoting immorality. Now, 20-year-old Pela responded in a TikTok session saying nobody forced anyone to watch Javis and Pela. You see that pastor, we will sue you. I gotta ask, I'm not sure he's going to go all the way with this threat, but would he be the reason for a lot of the JAM failures? I think it would be too hard to blame him.
The fear of influencers is the beginning of
Wow, maybe we should blame technology for it. Everyone is so distracted, scrolling and scrolling.
You know what, he's right. No one forced you to watch. But anyway, what do I know? I'm just a journalist.
Well, let's move away from that one. Let's talk about Abigail Ira Star, right?
Right.
She is setting records. The 23-year-old Nigerian singer has just become the first Nigerian female singer to hit 1 billion YouTube streams. Now, following the global smash success of Rush, among other hits, the Grammy-nominated singer surpassed Yemi Alade's record of 805 million. Now, 1 billion is a big number, and now Ira joins a long list of male Afrobeat stars like Burna Boy, Wizkid, Davido Remmer, and a list of a lot more to hit this milestone. I want to ask you now, because I mean, she's 23 and the first African or Nigerian, let me not say African lady, to hit 1 billion. And we have a lot of guys to do it. Would you say music scene, the Afrobeats, is a male-dominated industry?
Wait, who else is on that? Who else is on that list?
Oh, the guys: Burna Boy, Wizkid, Davido, Flavor, Rema, Omale. It's like 7 heavyweight Afrobeat kings, and honestly,
she's ahead. Is it Who Run the World? I'm happy for her. She's doing great. I kind of don't like when we do that comparison, though. She surpassed Yemi Alade. I mean, I guess, you know what? If you're going to measure it, you're going to measure it against someone. They're all living through their journeys. They are on their journeys and doing what they can with what they have.
Right.
But I'm so happy for her. Congratulations.
I'm excited for her. I mean, especially because women can do it all, true. But speaking about a lot of success, summer is approaching and box office just witnessed one of its biggest releases yet. Now, Disney's Lilo and Stitch live-action film, rating $341.7 million globally. Now, here's the cool part. It surpassed expectations and even beat action-packed Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. Now, don't forget, that film is the 8th film in the successful franchise of Mission Impossible, also reportedly the last one. I mean, we got to say a well done to Tom Cruise. Surprisingly, Lilo and Stitch becomes the 2nd biggest opening of this year, 2025, right behind this year's Minecraft. It also becomes Disney's 3rd biggest debut ever, only behind 2019's Lion King and 2017's Beauty and the Beast. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm a Disney boy, okay? So whether it's Beauty and the Beast, whether it's Cinderella, in fact, it's more exciting to see them remake them now. As an adult, I'm like, okay, I missed this part. What do you think?
I like Tom Cruise. I like that he's been dedicated to his craft for the longest time. You know, for the longest time, he didn't win any awards. You know that, right?
True.
There was no awards to his name. But then, you know what? The season changed after such a long time, a dry spell. But he kept doing his stuff. Like, you know what? You guys will catch up. I know I'm great.
Consistency.
We're going to catch up. And now I mean, look at that.
Well, maybe we'll get, hopefully this is going to be the final Mission Impossible. I want to see
I'm going to have to watch it too. I mean, I'm going to have to watch
Lilo and Stitch?
Lilo and Stitch, yes.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. You know what? Those are the biggest stories in entertainment. That's all I can take. I'm Sam Dandy.
I'm Sam Dandy. And that's the news tonight. But before we go, here's a reminder of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu grants 14-day grace period to PDP and other owners of properties sealed off by Federal Capital Territory Administration. 6 students sitting for senior secondary school certificate examination abducted in Port Harcourt regain freedom. And Hamas reportedly agrees to U.S.-brokered ceasefire proposal aimed at ending ongoing war in Gaza. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on your screen. Follow us on all social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV for channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, AVO TV, and don't forget, YouTube is there too. Thank you for watching. I'm Adeshewa Josh. See you on Tuesday.